Hi, and welcome to And So Much More. My name is Cami Smith, and I am your host. Today, we are going to have a conversation that is not a new conversation by any means, but it is really representing a milestone for Centra and a choice for Centra to start a journey toward diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I'm really excited today to have Tanya Blackmon, who is president of Ospen Consulting. And she is nationally recognized diversity, equity, and inclusion executive. Tanya, thank you so much for being here. We actually have a second guest here with us today. I have Kristin King, who is VP of HR Talent here at Centra, and she is also leading the DEI Steering Committee, which I for sure want you to kind of explain a little bit more. But before we go too far, I want our listeners to know who are these people behind the voices. So Tanya, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me here. I am a DE&I executive. I've also been an executive with a large healthcare system in the C-suite, and I've been the president of 2 hospitals. So I know a lot about healthcare. I've been in healthcare for about 30 years. From a personal standpoint, one of the reasons that I'm really interested in DE&I is that I grew up military. My father was in the Marine Corps. And so when you're in the Marine Corps, the dependents feel like they're Marines too, but you move around a little bit.
Yes.
And one of the things that happens is that when you go to a base, no one comes from that base. You're all transferred in. So you have to learn how to get along, how to live together, work together, go to school together. So I learned a lot about different backgrounds, different cultures, and really how to make someone feel included. Because when you go to a new school, you kind of feel on the outside.
Yes.
And so I know what that feels like and how to make people feel included.
Yeah. And that's a really beautiful thing. I think it's innate in all of us since we were kids to just want to be included, to want to feel a part, to want to feel seen. And that does not go away when we're adults. And so I think the work that you're doing is so important. So thankful that you're here. Thank you so much for sharing. And Kristin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, first, thanks for having me. I've been with Centra for 2.5 years. Prior to that, I worked in a mid-sized healthcare organization in Southern Illinois and about 20 years in healthcare human resources specifically. And in that work, one of my goals, especially around DEI, is to make sure our employees and our patients feel safe and included in all the work that we're doing. We want to make sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a part of our true culture, that when people come here for employment or when people are here employed taking care of our patients or when our community is being seen, that they feel a true part of this culture. And that is, again, the importance around creating these safe and inclusive spaces.
Yeah.
So I was very excited when we decided to take more of a commitment and exploring this work and making sure it's truly embedded in absolutely everything that we do. This isn't a policy. This isn't a checkbox. This is how are we going to truly change and embed this work into our culture. So having the opportunity to meet Tanya, I knew was just going to be a perfect relationship for Centra that will really help us as we're continuing to explore this work and just make a greater path around it.
One of the things that you said, Kristin, that I think is so beautiful about Centra is that you want this work not to be a standalone, but to be interwoven. And you started that. In one of your values, you have equity, diversity, and inclusion. And in your strategic priorities, cultural connectedness, it's connected to that. So that is really a great start on this journey.
Yeah, diversity is new to our values. We have had equity and inclusion. And so I think that now that the organization has a formal strategy where people are moving in the right direction, cultural connectedness, one Centra, really focusing on people first. It's a priority. This is long-term planning. And so it is front and center. And our workforce is incredibly valued and important to us.
Yes.
We want them to feel it.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about the DEI steering committee that you mentioned.
This is a brand new committee here at Centra. It's made up of a few different leaders and facility presidents in the organization, and we want to see that, of course, expand as well. This is a committee that Tanya will be working with, and we'll develop a charter and what our true mission is. But right now, it is the start of the committee's work is first creating a plan, and that is where Tanya comes in with our journey. We recently completed the AHA roadmap, specifically with DEI work. And a part of that roadmap places Centra in the exploring phase, which is allowing us to really map out what do we need to be doing, what is the focus is on, and more importantly, what do our patients, our employees, and our community members want to see from Centra.
Yes.
And so that committee will be helping to oversee that work and help prioritize that work and to make sure that, again, it is all aligning with our strategy. And it is, I'm telling you, it's work that's not going to go away.
Yes, it's just a starting point, and it's so valuable. And I'm very curious to hear more about this committee as it moves forward. Tanya, tell us about your process. So you've come here to Lynchburg, Bedford, Farmville. You've been in some of our facilities. I know that your listening tour is not over. So what does this process look like? What does it entail?
Yeah. My years of experience as a leader and in the DE&I space has taught me that the portal of entry into any culture is through its people. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm listening to your people. The people in the organization, including the community, really understand what's written about Centra and what's unwritten. And we all know some of the things that are informal or unwritten are the most important things.
Yes.
So what I'm doing is making sure that I am hearing the voices from all levels of authority in the organization, all facilities, all job roles, many dimensions of diversity.
Yeah.
This afternoon or this evening, I'll be meeting with the male nurses.
Okay.
Since there are less male nurses in Centra and usually nationally than female nurses, I want to hear their voices and hear their experiences. So on the listening tour, I really ask them about their experiences, their observations related to DE&I at Centra. From that, we will utilize the feedback, as Kristin had said, utilize the feedback to develop a strategic plan on how Centra is going to truly fulfill its mission of equity, diversity, inclusion. As a part of the process, we will hope to strengthen relationships in the community, as well as strengthen collaboration and partnerships across the organization. Sometimes you don't realize another person's perspective until you hear that perspective. So it's really very exciting to get to know everyone at Centra, and I'm really impressed with the people. We want people to be very candid. Amy has said in her memo, want you to have open hearts and open minds.
Yes.
So we're asking people to be candid. And sometimes when people are talking, they are afraid they're going to say the wrong thing or don't have the right words. And what I say to them is, your words are the right words. We want to know how you feel and what you think.
Yes.
And that's how we can develop a plan to make this truly an inclusive environment for all the caregivers as well as the patients.
Yes. It's a very vulnerable thing to sit down and, in your own words, talk about your experience. Sharing their story can be a part of beginning to feel heard, beginning that forward movement, and giving them a platform to do that. That's really incredible. How has that gone so far?
It's gone very well. I've traveled to Farmville.
Yeah.
Everywhere I've gone, I'm learning Virginia and Centra's footprint. It's gone very well. People are really seeing, and they've said this, hiring me as a consultant and doing this listening tour is becoming an intervention all by itself.
Yeah.
People feel that this is really a commitment, that people want to hear my voice. And so it's going very well. And people are being honest about how they feel. And people are excited to work for Centra. They love this community. And they know that there are also challenges in this community. And there are challenges in Centra, but there are challenges everywhere. The neat thing is that people are beginning to talk about it and realize that Amy and Kristin and other leaders are very interested in making a difference in this community and for the caregivers and patients.
Yeah. So, Kristin, on the Centra side of this, as you have kind of watched this unfold in front of you, this journey. What has that been like? What are you seeing?
I am incredibly encouraged. And it's been really interesting and nice to see that when we sent out the memo that and introducing Tanya to the organization, and when I had the opportunity to present some of her roadmap to CLT, the emails started coming in. They wanted to meet her. They wanted to be a part of this work. They wanted their voices to be heard.
Wow.
Leaders and employees, after Amy's memo went out, were reaching out, and just by an email and a 15-minute presentation on CLT, people started feeling hopeful.
Wow.
And that's the passion work. That
Yeah.
is when you talk about wanting to create an environment where people want to come to work and feel and be their true authentic selves. That's meaningful work, and I'm feeling that people want this to happen, and they believe in it, and they are looking to their employer to commit to something different.
Yeah. I love that you said hope. That is so powerful. And it just starts a ball rolling that cannot be stopped. So, Tanya, tell us a little bit about you spoke a little bit about how your passion really aligns with this, but how has that really brought you to where you are now doing this work?
Yeah, my mission in life, and I don't know if everyone has a mission, but I do, and it's to add value to the lives of the people that I touch and serve. And so in this work, I'm always looking for ways that you can add value to the lives of people. I believe that it helps them to be their best selves.
Yeah.
And I want to be a part of that. So I get energized and kind of refueled when I see that the wheels are churning or that people are looking at things in a different way. One of the ground rules of the listening tour is that you have to listen to seek understanding. So when someone else is speaking, you want to make sure you're listening to seek understanding. It's easy to say, here she goes again, or here that person goes again. But usually when you're truly listening to seek understanding, there's some gold nuggets that you can find in that conversation that will help you personally or help the organization overall. So that's a lot of my passion in this work, and I don't think it ever gets old.
Yeah.
Because people don't get old. People change every day. Our country is changing every day. Needs change every day. So I'm always trying to figure out a way, how do we better meet the needs of people in this world and in this organization?
Yeah. Because what worked 10 years ago will not work today.
exactly
What works
right.
today will not work 10 years from now.
One of the things that most people don't know about me is that I started my career as a social worker. And so in social work, you really have to understand people. It's a degree where you understand systems and how things work, but also how a family works or doesn't work. And so that has really carried with me through all of my leadership roles, taking the time to understand the unique needs and the unique strengths of people.
Yes. So, I love how that ties in. I love how that has prepared you for where you are now. It's cool to see everything you've talked about and how it has just been your yeses that have led you to this work that you're doing here for us at Centra. So I'm so thankful.
One of the things that I think about is what we're doing on the listening tour is bringing the things that are under the table to the top of the table so that we can deal with them and move forward on the journey.
Uncovering things. I feel like
Yes.
you're going around pulling back curtains.
Yes, we are.
It's
We
so
are.
important. It's so important. You have to do that to move forward.
I always see that the journey forward is upward. It's kind of like climbing up a hill.
Yes.
You don't go backwards. You keep going, even though it's hard work. You keep going, and I love that Centra is committed to the hard work. It's a long-term journey. It's not going to
Yes.
happen overnight.
I think from my standpoint, we want to hear from our team, from our caregivers in the community. So I really hope that people listening to this will reach out
Yeah.
if they want to be partnered along with this work, because Tanya, she's available. She has been making herself available virtually on site to listen to our different groups, because we want to make sure
Yeah.
that being heard, the open mind, open heart. I love those
Yeah.
that statement, and so certainly feel free to reach out directly to
Okay.
me, and I'm happy to get everyone connected with Tanya.
I'm just curious. You're hearing so many stories, and I'm sure some of these stories are painful. How do you address that, or how do you handle the taking on of that stress?
Yeah, that's similar to social work.
Yes,
That you hear that. And I think what helps me is that I am working with a team of people, the leadership team here, who wants to go forward and do something about it. And as I'm on the listing tour, that's something that I'm able to say.
Yeah.
I'm actually very selective about who I choose to work with, because if it's not an organization that's serious and wants to move forward, I don't know that I want to be involved.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot to take on. You feel like you have all of those voices on your
Oh my
shoulders,
goodness.
and then you can do nothing with it.
Yeah.
So I want to work with organizations like Centra who are committed to doing something with that information.
I love that.
I do want to say, because this is important too, from the business side of me, I have an MBA as well, that in this work, it is all about the things that we said, but it is a strategic priority and imperative for organizations. There's a business case for this. When organizations truly create inclusive environments, they're 2 times more likely to have or to meet or exceed their financial targets. They're 6 times more likely to have team collaboration. They're 6 times more likely to be innovative and creative. And those are the things that you want in an organization.
Absolutely.
So there's a business case for DE&I as well as the people case for DE&I.
Yes, because we're either all walking forward together,
That's right.
or we're not going to get very far.
I think that's a great point. It ties into engagement. It
Yes.
ties into productivity. It ties into having healthy and happy workers here. Whenever you truly feel that your workforce is contributing to your individuality and your authentic selves, you tend to give more.
Yes.
And I really am excited to have our organization really wrap their arms and their hearts around this work and really listen and seek to understand and have patience and know that diversity takes many shapes and forms. And to have diversity in thought and opinion and many other things just makes a stronger workplace and a stronger community. So I'm personally looking forward to seeing this work progress. It is not something that is going to be a monthly initiative, a yearly initiative. This is something, again, that we truly are committed to embedding in our culture now and moving forward in our future.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a commitment across the health system. So I'm excited. I'm anticipating what is next, like in that welcoming of the stories. I hope we see more of that. I hope we see more of that vulnerability across the board. So thank you both so much for being here, Tanya and Kristin. And again, for those who are listening, if you would like to have your voice heard, whether you're in the community, whether you are a caregiver here at Centra, we would love for you to reach out. And again, that's at kristin.king@centrahealth.com. And thank you so much for listening to us today on And So Much More.